membership. It was its deposition that Sections 11A and 11.2 of the IEBC Act structurally divide IEBC into commissioners who are responsible for policy and strategy, and a fully staffed secretariat which is responsible for day-to-day administration and implementation. It was further its deposition that under Articles 145 and 150, the Constitution dictated the actors, the timelines, the procedures involved, which exclusively empower the legislature and exclude the IEBC. Similarly, it was the IEBC position that Article 149(1) of the Constitution mandates the President to nominate a replacement Deputy President within 14 days of a vacancy for parliamentary approval. Flowing from the foregoing, the IEBC deposed that the omission of the IEBC in the process signified that the framers of the Constitution did not intend for an electoral body to validate executive mid-term appointments. Finally, the IEBC addressed the petitioner's flawed reliance on Sections 99 and 137 of the Constitution. It clarified that the articles relate strictly and unequivocally to the qualifications of individuals seeking election as a member of parliament or president, respectively. The IEBC claimed that because a midterm vacancy under Article 145 and 150 trigger a nomination rather than a by-election, the clearance protocols under Articles 99 and 137 were not activated. The IEBC stated that while the IEBC maintains the voter register under Article 88(4)A of the Constitution and the IEBC Act and provides public information as required by Section 35 of the Constitution and the Access to Information Act, it is not mandated to vet a nominee's educational, moral, or criminal background, as those duties belong to other state agencies like the EACC and the DCI, and as such, IEBC urged the court to dismiss the consolidated petitions. The IEBC filed submissions dated 27th October 2024, reiterating the deposition of Marjan Hussein Marjan. It was its case that it has no constitutional or statutory role in filling a vacancy in the office of the Deputy President. It maintained the position that Article 149 is a self-executing mechanism requiring only a presidential nomination and parliamentary approval with no mandate for elections, referenda, or IEBC intervention. To that end, it relied on the Supreme Court's decision in Attorney General versus two others versus D and 79 others, which is a Supreme Court decision which established that constitutional and statutory bodies must operate strictly within the four corners of their mandate and cannot extend their powers through implication or interpretive craft. It submitted that compelling it to participate in the deputy presidential appointment process would validate the doctrine of separation of powers, violate the doctrine of separation of powers by encroaching on the explicit functions of the President and the National Assembly. It called to its aid the Supreme Court's holding in the matter of interim Independent Electoral Commission, which underscored the mutually countervailing roles of different government organs. It also cited the South African constitutional case of Affordable Medicine Trust and others versus Minister of Health and others. Lastly, the IEBC reiterated that it enjoys perpetual succession and corporate legal personality under Article 253 of the Constitution and Section 13(1) of the IEBC Act, and it was its submission that despite temporary vacancies in its membership, it remained properly constituted. The IEBC therefore invited the court to dismiss the petitions against it as unmerited. the case presented by His Excellency Kithure Kindiki, who was the second interested party in the consolidated petition. His Excellency Kindiki challenged the petition through his replying affidavit and further affidavit deposed on 20th February 2025 and 8th May 2026, respectively. At the outset, he defended the swift timeline of his nomination and approval and clarified that the Constitution mandates the filling of the Deputy President vacancy within a maximum of 74 days, which were not a minimum, thereby making the expedited process entirely legal. Regarding public participation, it was his case that the National Assembly conducted extensive and adequate public engagement that met the legal thresholds. To that end, he deposed that there were newspaper advertisement, public hearings, and comprehensive reports. It was his position that the Senate acted as a trial forum rather than a legislative body during the impeachment hearings, meaning it was not constitutionally required to conduct public participation. In addressing the allegations regarding his eligibility, he maintained that the Iebc Secretariat had the administrative capacity to confirm his voter registration status without requiring a fully constituted commission. He also dismissed claims that he was ineligible for failing to hold a 3-month political party membership, explaining that this requirement applied strictly to general elections, not to the filling of an unforeseen vacancy. Further to the foregoing, it was his case